So now we are going to hear from Britt, and she's going to talk about adventures with a reactive dog. Okay. Britt Kashek has the Cass Pack, and she does a lot of wonderful things as far as blogging and that type of thing. She's a passionate pet advocate and outdoor enthusiast. She is dedicated to helping others create fulfilling and adventurous lives alongside with their furry companions, even if they have special needs. As a proud mom to a reactive rescue dog, Lucifer, Britt understands the unique challenges and rewards of including such dogs in outdoor activities. Through her experiences and knowledge, she empowers others to explore the world safely and responsibly, excuse me, with their reactive dogs. And Britt shares her adventures and insights on her pet-friendly travel blog, The Cas Pack, and through her writing for various pet publications. Britt, let's go.
So get my screen up here. Hey. There we go.
There we go.
So, Adventures with a Reactive Dog. As Stephanie said, I'm Britt. I'm not going to do a big long introduction for you guys because she's already taken care of that so well. So, we're going to jump right into it. I want to start, though, by introducing somebody very special to this presentation, and that's Lucifer. And the reason being that I had never had any experience with a reactive dog before him to the level he is. So little man Lucifer came to me in 2021. Yes, he's a COVID puppy. He came from Tennessee and he was transported up to Ontario, Canada, where we live. And he was just 4 months old at the time. However, being only 4 months old, he had already suffered such a traumatic start to life. He had 2 fractured legs. He was afraid of leashes and being restrained. He had intense fear reactivity that was triggered by anyone he didn't know, especially strangers. So he was your quintessential reactive dog that everybody talks about, and a lot of people assume couldn't do a whole lot. Since that time, since that date in 2021, he has now visited over 20 provincial parks with me. He's gone to several conservation areas, wildlife reserves, camping in Crown Land, private camping opportunities. He has been out and about and really enjoyed the world around us. And he is just proof that being a reactive dog doesn't mean you can't get out and enjoy. So he is the inspiration for this. And I wanted you guys to know where all of this is coming from in terms of my experience with a reactive dog. Let's start with the basic question. What is reactivity? And this is a phrase that often gets kind of misconstrued and misunderstood in our society. People often use reactivity and aggression as an interchangeable phrase, and they're not the same. So an aggressive dog is a dog who actually goes into a bite or an attack or an incident with the intention of causing damage or harm. They may be trying to dominate, they might be trying to control, but they are intentionally trying to be outwardly harmful to another trigger. A reactive dog is simply a dog who has big feelings, big emotions in some way, and they're just so big they don't know what to do with it. So they could be fear reactive. They're so afraid that they lash out of fear. They could be excitement reactive. That's one a lot of people don't realize. A lot of dogs who get leash reactive are reactive not because they're upset or aggressive or even fearful. They're just so excited. They see another dog and they get so excited they don't know what to do with that excitement. So they act in a way we don't want them to. But basically, the term means they're overreacting to a trigger, something outside of them. And every dog's trigger is different, but it is not aggression. And that is really important to remember when you're deciding if you can take them out into a public space. They don't want to cause harm. They're not trying to cause harm. They just have feelings that are so big and they don't know how to respond and to let those feelings out in a healthy way. Now, as far as hiking with a reactive dog, this can be a bit of a challenge because you're going out into an unknown space sometimes. Sometimes you're familiar with the trail, sometimes it's unknown, but you don't know who's going to be out there, whether there's going to be people, there's going to be wildlife, there's going to be other dogs, there can be dogs on leash, dogs off leash. It's an ongoing struggle that a lot of people face. But there are a few ways that you can do so and try and minimize the triggers and the challenges that you're going to face. A big one is to choose a less popular trail, especially if your dog is reactive to other people, reactive to other dogs. Going onto those super popular trails where you know you're going to run into people the whole time, you're setting yourself up to fail. Why set yourself up for a situation you know is likely going to go negatively? There are so many incredible trails around that maybe people don't even know exist that you can take your dog out on and enjoy with a reactive dog without worrying about potentially causing harm or damage to somebody else. And I say harm or damage because when they do react, sometimes those reactions can lead to a dangerous situation for yourself, for another dog, for your dog, for another person. So as a responsible dog owner, we need to acknowledge that even though we love our dogs and we'd like to think they wouldn't ever do something, always consider the worst case scenario and set yourself up with that in mind. Try hiking during off-peak hours or days. There might be a trail you absolutely love, but during the evening hours, right after supper, it's packed. Everybody's going there because that is kind of the peak time, the best time to visit that trail. Well, maybe if you got up in the morning, you could go down that same trail and see nobody. So considering different times that you could go out to explore that trail could change how many people are going to be there and how many people you're going to run into. Learn your dog's triggers. Just because a dog's reactive doesn't mean that they respond to everything. One dog might respond to dogs they don't know. A dog might respond to strangers. That's Lucifer's trigger. He doesn't care if he passes another dog. In fact, he doesn't really care that much if he passes a woman. He's reactive to men. So understanding that if that's his trigger, I then know that that's what I need to watch out for. Some other common triggers that you might face when out on a hiking trail is bikes or mountain bikes, horses, if you're on a trail that has people who can go out horseback riding, other dogs, whether they're on leash or off leash, or even wildlife. Some dogs just get really overexcited over the sight of a squirrel or a bird, and that can be reactivity as well. But knowing your dog's triggers, you can then consider what you might run into and how to respond appropriately. Keep your own emotions in check. Your dog feeds off of you. And this is something that I know has come up in other presentations and will come up in more probably. When you get excited, your dog gets excited. How many times have you come home and you're like, oh, I missed you so much? And instantly your dog starts getting all worked up too, and their tail's going and they're jumping around because they're feeding off your excitement. In the same way, if you're anxious or nervous or scared or fearful, your dog is going to feed off that anxiety. So if you are coming up on something your dog is triggered by and you're overly anxious and worked up and stressed, you're creating that setting of pushing your dog to that threshold way faster than if you were to stay calm and collected. So take a deep breath, learn how to keep your own emotions in check, and in doing so, you're going to help set your dog up for success. And most importantly, don't be afraid to advocate for your dog. The people that you're running into on a trail, they don't know you, they don't know your dog, they don't know your dog's situation. So they might really well-meaning, wanting to pet your dog, not realizing that they're actually going into a situation that could be harmful or could be concerning either for them or for your dog. So you need to be willing to step up. Your dog can't say, hey, I don't like people. You have to be the one to do that for them. So don't be afraid to advocate. Don't be afraid to put your foot down. You don't have to be rude about it necessarily. Just a gentle, not friendly, or he needs space. That said, some people are going to continue to push. I've had multiple times because Lucifer looks like a cute little puppy. He's actually 3 years old. He looks like he's about 9 months old. We're all saying, yeah, he's not friendly. And they're like, oh, well, he looks friendly. Anytime that somebody says something like that and you want to shut it down really quick, just a tip, I just say, well, I'm not. People will argue with my dog. For some reason, people don't argue when I say I'm not friendly, and that usually just shuts it down. So don't be afraid to just say something, like cut it right off. That's it. If that's what you need to do. I'm not out on the trail to go, making friends with every person I see. If there's someone who's not going to respect that I've tried to advocate, they're not someone I want to be friends with anyway. So I just shut it down that easy. But just don't be afraid to advocate for your dog. Your dog is relying on you to make sure that they're not in an unsafe situation. And then I added a pro tip here. Pro tip, try using All Trails to find great trails that are often overlooked. It's an app that you can get on your phone. And you can search a specific location. And when you search that location, it will tell you trails that are in the area. But it also includes some important factors to consider, like, is this trail one that is highly trafficked? Is this trail one that doesn't usually see a lot of traffic? What is the difficulty level? So you can go onto All Trails, especially if you're going into an area you don't know. search up that area and look for trails where you can expect to not necessarily see a lot of people while you're there. Camping, the other side of what we do. So we go camping, tent camping specifically, hiking, canoeing, etc., with our pets, including my little reactive dog. You can see him here in his tent, all proud to be out at the campsite. But how do you go camping when you've got a dog who maybe is upset by other dogs or by people? The most important thing is to choose your campsite strategically. I don't want to just put myself in the middle of the busiest RV park and hope that he's not going to notice that 360 around us is people and children screaming and dogs barking, that we're setting him up to fail. So instead, when we go out looking for a site, we try and find something that's a little bit more private and away from those high traffic areas. We avoid campsites that are near trailheads. You have a lot of people coming and going. They're coming onto the trail, they're getting off the trail, there's vehicles parking there. People might be meeting up to hike together and therefore are, socializing in the parking lot. We try to avoid being near bathrooms, showers, comfort stations, or water taps. These are areas people are constantly going to throughout the day. Parking lots in general, even if it's just an additional vehicle parking spot, people are going to be coming and going to their vehicles. Beach access points, beach trails, and parking for beaches. The beach is obviously a big draw for people. People want to go there. People want to bring their dogs to dog beaches. So by not being right near those access points, you're putting a barrier in between you and any traffic going on there. Boat launches, once again, people are coming and going. They're bringing their boats, they're putting them in the water, they're bringing their canoes, their kayaks. A lot of people canoe and kayak with their pets. Not necessarily the best place for a reactive dog. And finally, and this seems obvious, but we're saying, avoid campsites that are near dog parks or exercise areas. Obviously, if your dog is dog reactive, putting them in an area where you know there's going to be a lot of dogs is asking for trouble. So choose a site that, maybe is at the very edge of the campground. I like going at the very, very edge where behind you is going to be nothing but woods. You only have to concern yourself with part of the campsite around you when it comes to creating privacy. Try and find sites that maybe offer a little bit more privacy automatically due to the trees and the foliage. Consider setting up your site in a way that makes sense, paying attention to where those high traffic areas are going to be. A few things to set you up kind of for success on the campsite. The first is visual barriers. I mentioned setting up your site for success. There are different ways you can do that. Sometimes the way you park your car. Consider placing your car across an open area. If you're RV or trailer camping, where are you putting your RV or your trailer? Are you blocking off the roadway? Are you blocking off maybe a trail that goes near you? Can you see into campsites beside you? How are you blocking that off? If you're tent camping like we are, you can see in the photo I've got here, we'll actually use the tent and the dining shelter, which has privacy panels on it, to create a barrier that blocks things. Sometimes we'll use a tarp. You can see in the picture, I've got the tarp along the dog pen. That works great if it's just like an area we're semi-concerned about, but not really worried about high traffic, or it's not elevated at all. That'll block his view. He is pretty small. He does look a little bit bigger because he has a jumper marking, but he's only 30 pounds. So when you put it along that fence, it's great. If you have a larger dog, that's not going to work. Or if you're at an area where maybe your campsite's here and the road's elevated slightly, that's not going to work. You can put up a tarp, create a tarp wall. We call it the Lucifer wall in our house. We regularly put those up to create that block. Now, this is if your dog is visually triggered, meaning they see a trigger and they respond. That's not going to be the case for all dogs. And I did want to mention some dogs are triggered by sound. If your dog is triggered by the sound of a dog barking, the sound of a person walking, the sound of people talking, putting a visual barrier up may not stop them. In fact, it may actually make it worse because they now can no longer see what is creating that sound. So you've got to know your dog and your own dog's individual responses and triggers. With a dog who's triggered maybe by sound, you could try playing a radio really quietly. You could try like a white noise machine, something to kind of block off that sound from the distance and allow them to focus on what's going on there. But blocking their ability to see, if they can hear a person talking and they can't see the person talking, but they're excited about the person talking, you're actually elevating that point they're at in their threshold. So This could take a little bit of trial and error. You might have to try a few things and see what works best for your dog. Pay attention as you're making changes to your campsite, trying things like this. Is your dog starting to relax a little bit more? Or is your dog getting more worked up? If your dog's getting more worked up, you just put up that visual barrier of a target. Try taking that target down and try something else. Now, when you tried this next step, did your dog relax or did your dog get more excited? And working through these various trials will help you find your dog's specific happy place, their safe place, their comfort zone. Place training is a huge one for us. And that is because the concept of place training, for those who may not have taught it before, is that you tell your dog, you tell them to go to their place. Not only do they go to a specified bed or spot, but they stay there, they relax there until they leave the place. Now, this is something you obviously have to train at home. It's not something, dogs don't come to us pre-trained. That would be great. I would love that. But it is something you have to work on at home. However, if you have a designated place, now some dogs can do it based on just one location. Some dogs need that visual of this is place. Other dogs can learn to the point that you can teach them place with pretty much anything that you introduce and go, this is now place. I find with Lucifer, especially because when he's getting a little worked up or a little anxious, he needs that visual of that is the place I know. That is the bed I know. That bed is place. We use a bed from Wingo Outdoors that is just like a packable sleep bed, pretty much. You can see it in the picture here. He's laying on it. It rolls up into a stuff sack. We bring it with us. We put it out at any campsite we're at. The benefit of that is anytime that I can see him starting to get worked up, this is before he hits his threshold, before he's freaking out. I can see him starting to get anxious, starting to get upset. Send him to place and allow him to calm down. You might give him a chew when he's relaxing there in place. You might just let him take a nap there in place. But sending him to that comfort place is a way to help him calm down and get over that anxiety and bring that threshold back down again. The other benefit to bringing a specific place like we do with this bed is that it brings his scent. And anybody who has worked with dogs, whether it's as a trainer or a vet, know that scent is a comforting thing. If they can smell themselves on it, it is comfort. The rest of the world around them at that campsite is different and new and strange and interesting and exciting, or something that they're afraid of. That's all adding to how they're feeling right now. But that place, that one bed, it's familiar. It is comfort. So I highly recommend, whether it's a bed like this one, or a blanket, maybe that they just always know that whatever that blanket is sitting on, and teach them that place command so that they learn that that is someone that they go to just calm down. Another important consideration when you're camping with any dog, let alone with a reactive dog, is enrichment. And it's the old adage, right? A tired dog is a good dog. Well, that's because if they have a whole lot of pent up energy and excitement and all like trying to hold that back, and then all of a sudden an additional excitement or something that they're afraid of is thrown at them, that's going to take them from 0 to 60 way faster. So something that might have normally just made them a little extra excited, all of a sudden throws them right over the top. And next thing you know, you've got a dog who's freaking out and you're trying to calm everything down and everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Instead, trying to prioritize enrichment in your daily routine while you're camping. This can be done in a lot of different ways, and it can be physical and mental enrichment. Maybe you're taking your dog for a hike. You're taking your dog swimming if that's something that they enjoy doing. You can try bringing along some favorite chews. You can use, as you see, Lucifer's got here, one of his food puzzles that he enjoys. Now, those are not always the easiest to pack up, but there's snuffle mats that roll up really easy. Or you can always use nature's snuffle mat. I don't know if anybody's ever heard it referred to that way, but sprinkle food in the grass and let your dog snuffle for it. Nature has a snuffle mat built in for us at every campsite that we go to. But the idea is that you're trying to challenge both their body and their mind to give them a healthy and safe outlet for that energy. Because the more worked up and upset that they're getting, the more that's going to set them up to go over the top. The best I ever had it described to me is that a dog's reactivity, a dog's threshold, is like a big giant water jug. And every dog has a water jug. And some dogs, when they see a person, they just get a couple drops in that water jug. They get a little excited, but that's okay. There's still a whole lot of empty. Other dogs, they might react to a dog. They see a dog, and it's like having a cup dumped in that water jug. Now, if you're allowing that water to build up, build up, build up, and all of a sudden that cup is dumped in that water jug, it's going to be overflowing in no time. But if you're taking the time every day to remove water from that jug, then even if your dog is reactive to another dog and somebody dumps that cup in, there's still a lot of extra space. So you want to try and keep that water down, keep that threshold down. And enrichment is a great way to go about doing that. Training obviously plays a big role into this. I'm sure Stephanie will agree with me. And that is something that you have to start doing at home to set yourself up for success. Now, the great news is we're in the middle, in our area of the world anyway, we're in the middle of winter right now. We're spending a lot of time indoors with our pets trying to find things to do. I know in other areas of the world, it's summer right now, and this might be something that you switch over and work on in the winter instead. But something to think about is taking this off-season time that you're at home and you're trying to find ways to spend time with your dog and bond with your dog and turn it into a training session, focusing on commands that can help you when you're going on your adventures. Look or watch me is one that we use a ton with Lucifer. And that is great if you see that there is a trigger coming that I don't want him to fixate on. So before he even has a chance to fixate on it, before he even has a chance to get worked up about it, hey buddy, look. And then he's looking at me and he's disengaging and ignoring that trigger entirely. His attention is on me. It's not on the man, further down the trail that we might never even run into, but if he saw it, he would get upset because he's scared that that man might be closer. It's not on the dog that you're about to pass. Their attention is on you, and they're waiting for the next command from you, the next direction from you. Leave it is another big one that really helps. This is more, so if look was before they noticed the trigger is there, leave it would be now they've noticed the trigger is there, they're wanting to go after it, they're wanting to go visit that dog, but you want to get their attention back on you. Leave it. Disengage from it. Leave it alone. So you're telling them, yeah, you know what? I see it too. I see that dog's over there. We're going to leave it and continue our hike. And then, of course, heel. When you're out on a hike and your dog gets worked up, if their heel is questionable, if they don't really know how to have good leash manners and they get overly excited on the leash, and they struggle with the concept of heel, they're going to struggle way more when they go over that threshold. You're taking a dog who is already having to work really hard to remember what this command is and how they're supposed to behave. And you're all of a sudden throwing them into a situation where they have such big emotion, it's all kind of rattling through their head, and you're still expecting them to listen. But if you work on that heel and create a solid heel before you hit the trail, you're setting them up for success. You're setting them up to be able to, okay, I get there's all these emotions going on, but I know heel, and I know what my dog mom, my dog dad's asking me to do. And you're able to keep better control over them as you move past that trigger. Because let's be honest, when you're on a trail, you're going to have to pass a trigger at some point. Like, big one that has a lot of stigma and a lot of controversy, and I personally don't understand why, because I think it is one of the most valuable tools you can introduce when going anywhere with a reactive dog is muzzle training. And no, muzzles are not mean. They're not, cruel. They are not punishment. When a dog is properly conditioned to using a muzzle, it is no different to them than wearing a collar or having a leash hooked on or putting on their harness. In fact, when I take out Lucifer's leash and I pull it out and hold on to it, he starts to get excited. He starts jumping. He starts getting overly worked up because he knows that the muzzle means we're going somewhere good. The muzzle means there's great things ahead. The muzzle means there's excitement ahead. So, why consider a muzzle? Let's start there. A muzzle protects your dog. It protects your dog from potentially getting into a fight with another dog. It protects your dog from doing something that they shouldn't, that could cause long-term damage, such as maybe they get scared and they nip to try and use for he's fear reactive. He's afraid. So if he gets into a very narrow trail with a man he doesn't know, he might nip that man to try and protect himself. And that's only going to put him into a situation where now all of a sudden you're dealing with officials and he now has a fight in his record. Your job is not only to protect the muzzle brand, you can also protect your dog, and that muzzle is the way to do it. It increases confidence, both yours and your dog's. Going back to what I was saying before, remember when I said that your emotions are going to rub off on your dog? So if you're going out in that trail and you're afraid, your dog's going to be afraid. But if you go out in that trail and you're confident, your dog is automatically going to be more confident. And a muzzle is a great way to give yourself confidence, especially if you're normally concerned. Like if you have a dog who is fear reactive, like my little man here, and you are honestly worried anytime that you go out in public that he might snip at somebody, he might bite, he might feel like he has to protect himself. But you put that muzzle on and now you're giving yourself that safeguard, that allows you more confidence. You can go out more confidently with that dog on a leash, and instantly that sets your dog up to be more confident. It's also a great way to improve communication. As I said earlier, when I talked about advocating for your dog, Lucifer's cute. I mean, look at that photo. Lucifer's cute. And people see a cute dog and people want to pet a cute dog. That's just the way that our society is. And I don't blame them. I see a cute dog and I want to pet a cute dog too. Of course, I always ask, not everyone does. When you put a muzzle on a dog, even if they don't necessarily need that muzzle, you're already telling the rest of society this dog needs space. People see a muzzle and people know instinctively to stay back. So it's a way to just communicate that space. This dog might be fearful. This dog might be upset. This dog might be prone to potentially biting out of excitement. But that muzzle says, I need space, give me space, or ask, or approach with caution. And people understand that, whereas they may not read a leash sleeve or a bandana or a vest. There are different types of muzzles. I do want to touch on that really broad, just a broad topic first. People, when they hear muzzle, they automatically think either of the hard plastic, like a Birdwell, the silicone muzzles, like a Baskerville, or the like metal cage. There are other options out there, and the one that we use at Lucifer is a vinyl muzzle. It just moves a little bit more. It gives them a little bit more comfort in that sense. And it is a little bit less intimidating when people see it. And rather than dealing with a lot of people coming up to us being like, oh my God, that dog must be aggressive. Instead, I find I get a lot more just questions. Like, I'm curious about why you're wearing that. So if you're worried about putting a muzzle on your dog because you're worried about judgment, I have found that going the route of a good quality vinyl muzzle just changes that. For some reason in people's mind, they don't automatically think aggressive, they get curious. And a quality vinyl muzzle actually does hold the same bite protection as a metal plastic muzzle. So that said, it has to be quality vinyl muzzle. Get what you pay for. So if you go on Amazon and you buy the cheapest vinyl muzzle on Amazon, you're probably going to get something that you could put your fingers and squeeze closed. And if you can do that, they can also do that with their teeth, and it's not going to be good. So if you are seriously wanting to go this route, invest in something quality. Lucifer's is an adventure model from PS Muzzles. There are other companies that do make great quality muzzles, whether it's a vinyl muzzle or a basket muzzle. But just make sure, and I want to stress it one more time, that your muzzle is gradually and positively to ensure that they see it just as another tool versus just throwing it on them and creating one. And that is everything that I have actually in the presentation in that sense. I tried to time it for half an hour so that we would have 15 minutes for questions specifically, because I know that a lot of this is just kind of learning from each other and answering specific questions that we have. So I do have an email here, but I'm going to open up the floor to you guys and do a bit of a Q&A here for the last